Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is iGoRawr and welcome to Let's Auraxium, the show where I Auraxium a gun and then proceed to wave my planet-side dick around for the entire internet to see. Today we're going to be looking at the Pulsar C, a carbine available to the Vanu's light assault and engineer, and god damn I love this gun. Now, before we begin, I would like to read you the description of this weapon because I kind of find it hilarious of how bad it describes the actual role this gun plays. Based off its bigger assault rifle brother, the smaller Pulsar C was developed with an emphasis on stopping power. Although not as easy to control, the heavy-hitting Pulsar C is far more devastating at close range. I'm sorry, but anyone who has ever used this gun for more than 10 seconds will know that that description is absolutely awful for the role this gun plays. I mean, in fact, you could put a random picture there in the description, and that would have made more sense. In fact, actually, hang on. I'm gonna do that right now. Just edit that in. There. That makes more sense to me than that description. Yeah. Let's look at the stats. Starting off with a fire rate of 577 rounds per minute and the damage model of 167 damage up to 10 meters, dropping off to 125 damage at 70 meters, this falls into line with what you would expect for a long to mid-range carbine to be. It is also worth taking note, though, that this is the only 167 damage model carbine available to the Vanu Sovereignty. Next is the reload speed, which comes in at 1.6 seconds for a short reload and 2.6 seconds for a long reload. Now, don't take what I'm about to say as a negative trait. The Pulsar C's reload speed is actually quite good. In fact, it's one of the quickest available in the carbine category of weapons. But I do kind of feel that the fast reload speed of the Pulsar C is kind of a wasted gift. Normally you're going to be wanting to engage your targets at medium ranges, and if the quick reload speed ever came into play, which it usually doesn't, you probably made an engagement that really was a bad choice. Next is its magazine size, which totals 30 rounds, nothing too unusual there, but it is worth noting that the ammo pool for this weapon is 30 rounds less than the regular, at 150 rounds. Finally, the muzzle velocity of 515 meters a second. Now, this isn't terrible, but you're still gonna have to lead your targets at range. So that brings us to our final question. Is this gun worth your time? And the answer is yes. In fact, I am so confident in this weapon that if I had the opportunity to go back and Auraxium any gun I wanted again, it would be a tie between the Pulsar C and the Orion. So why do I think this weapon is so good? Well, it mainly comes down to two reasons. The first reason I think the Pulsar C is so good is because it's really the liberator of carbines. Now, what do I mean when I say the liberator of carbines? Well, think of it like this. The Liberator has the potential to farm the ever-loving crap out of infantry when left unopposed. And really, it's not necessarily the Liberator that's overpowered or too strong, but the fact that your friendlies on the ground refuse to do anything about it. The people around you are enabling the Liberator to be extremely effective. And the same goes for the Pulsar C. When you put it on your light assault and you hop up in a tree, one of the legs of an amp station, maybe even the legs of a biolab, just wherever you don't think people are going to expect to look, and constantly just pick off a guy, pick your engagements very selectively, make sure they're not near a medic so they don't get rezzed, and pop back up, know where you are, and start shooting. When you're very careful, you can just pluck away at people all day, completely unopposed. However, also like a Liberator, you're going to find particular people that keep shutting you down. For myself, when I'm flying, Royd Tech Pink Void of TR, they kick my ass all the time. And when I was playing Light Assault, Sir Cereal Box from Recursion, you sir, you kicked my ass every single time I had a good farm going in a biolab. I shit you not, when I can attribute probably another 2 hours having to be put into this weapon because of how often this guy shut me down. So on to the second reason why I think the Pulsar C is so good. and it really comes down to its recoil pattern and bloom per shot. Now, the Pulsar C is one of the few weapons in the game that features a perfectly consistent recoil pattern. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, with most guns, you'll find yourself having horizontal recoil, which will pull it to the left or sometimes the right, and it will have varying degrees of how much pull you get to that side. And some weapons will have varying degrees of vertical recoil. However, the Pulsar C has neither of these things, meaning that every shot you take will recoil the exact same amount every single time. Not only that, the Pulsar C has absolutely no horizontal bias, meaning it will never pull to the left or right. Every shot you take will recoil perfectly horizontally. This creates an interesting dynamic for the weapon. If you're a new player or someone that doesn't have particularly good aim, but you still want to engage at longer ranges, it's a good weapon for you, because you don't have to compensate for the horizontal recoil, and the vertical recoil is the exact same every time. It's quite user-friendly in that respect. Whereas with older players or people who have particularly good aim can enjoy the weapon because it does the exact same thing every single time, and it can be a quick weapon to master. I consider myself to have relatively average aim, but even after only 100 or so kills with the Pulsar C, I found myself being able to consistently pop off people's heads at 70 meters and beyond, which is an incredibly long range considering that carbines are a class of weaponry that's really more suited for the medium to short ranges. On top of all that, the bloom per shot with this weapon is actually pretty minimal, and because of its higher damage model, you'll be taking less shots to down a target. Even at long ranges, you can get away with full autoing the weapon and still probably get the kill, but you usually are better off burst firing the weapon. It's kind of like sharing your fetishes with everyone. You can do it, but you probably shouldn't. Although, for the record, I do like me a good redhead. In short, I think the Pulsar C is one of the best carbines available to the Vanu Sovereignty, and if you do not own this weapon yet, I think you're doing yourself a disservice by at least not checking it out in VR or doing a trial of the weapon, because in the right situations and in the right hands of a player that knows what they're doing, this weapon can cause more havoc than you could imagine. Anyways guys, my name's iGoRawr, and I'll see you all next time.